You're watching She's Gone Country, growing up on the Christensen Brothers Rodeo Ranch. Becky and Vicki are sharing the roots of rodeo and connecting the generations with stories behind the stories of our rich Western heritage. Keeping the spirit of the American Cowboy and Cowgirl alive, they are the CB Cowgirls.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Roper Cowboy Marketplace here at Mandalay Bay. I am Becky Mapston, and this is my co-host, Vicki Christensen-O'Shieles. And we are happy to be back here. Vicki, we're back again.
I know. It's another year, and we are just so thankful to be here. Super, super excited. I mean, there is so much going on in Vegas right now. We have a terrific guest lineup, and we can't wait to share it all with you.
And so first, I want to bring up our beautiful Miss U.S. Ambassador for She's Gone Country with the CB Cowgirls, Miss Bobbie Jeen Olson.
Ooh, good morning, Bobbie.
She joins us. She's our guest co-host, and she also will be doing our fashion show tomorrow. So be looking for that.
Right, and then we're going to bring up someone very special because today we are talking about the World of Rodeo Gathering and Reunion. So
yes.
Mr. Brent Jordan, come up and tell us about it.
This is the voice.
And we're going to have you stay right there because we're going to have
voice.
we're going to have a special guest that we're going to bring up right now. We're going to let Brent introduce him. But this is all about the history and the legacy and the heritage of rodeo today. That's what we're talking about. So, Brent?
You are absolutely correct. Absolutely. You know, the World of Rodeo Reunion, and we're going to sit down here, happens tomorrow, Orleans Arena, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and all the rodeo legends from the last 40, 50 years, a lot of them are going to be there. And it was a brainchild of my father, Larry Jordan, who has a little experience in producing things and promoting events. And so he put that together. And, you know, the NFR is such a spread out event. I mean, it's all over the City of Lights. I mean, every venue has something going on, like right here at the Mandalay Bay. And the idea behind this was to give one day, for a couple, 3 hours, the people in the world of rodeo to come together and to tell old rodeo stories, see people they haven't seen in maybe 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, you know. And also, we have a special event this year. We're honoring the ladies of the West.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's even one on the stage we're going to honor.
A very
Yes.
special one that we
Yes.
all adore and love.
Yes, my beautiful Aunt Vicki will be one of the, well, I don't know exactly how many, but one of the beautiful women are being honored. And that is why we will, Bobbie Jeen will be taking over the stage tomorrow because we will be over there honoring all the women. And, you know, for Brent and I, we love this because we're the next generation coming up behind them. And this is our history and our legacy and our heritage. And we learn so much for them. And we're able to, take those stories, those lessons, and we share them with our children, and the future generations, the next ones coming up in rodeo.
Absolutely, Becky, because, the CB Cowgirls, we're all about the stories behind the stories, and there is so much going on, and the history of our great sport and how it has grown. It's
Yes.
such an honor to, to have the reunion. What is this, Brent, the fifth year?
Fifth year, yeah, I believe
Yes,
that's
wow.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
fifth year.
The years go quick. They come by. Round and round they go. But
I know someone asked me, it said something about, myself being selected to be honored. And of course, I was extremely, very humble, to be honored. There's so many deserving women out there. And someone asked me, so how do you feel? And I said, well, maybe old. I don't know.
No,
You know,
experienced.
it is all about what you ladies have done, not just for the sport of rodeo, but for the Western lifestyle. It gives so many of us someone to look up to, admire, and respect. And you're leading by example, so the rest of us can do the same.
Oh,
so
thank
congratulations.
You. Thank you, Bobbie.
yeah, I would just add to that the ladies of the West, I think the Cowgirls, whether you're competing in the rodeo arena as a contestant, whether you're running barrels or you're roping in the WPRA, or you're at home, you're raising a family, and then you're going down the road and taking care of your cowboy, or vice versa, you know what I mean? There's so much to it. I mean, just from my own personal experience, my mother ran barrels in the 70s. My grandmother was a member of the Contra Costa County Cowbells for 50 years. My other grandmother was a rancher in Montana for her whole life. And I think that the women of professional rodeo, the women of ranching, are the heart and soul of the sport. I really, truly believe that because I really believe that it's the women that hold this whole thing together.
Well, and if I might add, they are the mothers of all the cowboys.
Absolutely.
Okay? So
There you go.
Without the women, them cowboys wouldn't be traveling down the road.
There is no next generation.
Exactly.
That's absolutely right.
So, Brent, you have some special guests that you brought with you. So why don't you go ahead and introduce who you brought with us to share today?
Yeah, let's bring up a great NFR cowboy, a bronc rider, country music artist.
Okay.
Yeah. Ivan Daines, come on up. Great Canadian cowboy.
We're gonna put Ivan right next to us, ladies, because we've got a special selection he's gonna share with us. And go ahead and bring up Monty now.
3-time world champion saddle bronc rider, member of the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, Monty Hawkeye Henson.
Woo!
Hey, hi Brent. Hi.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, how's everybody? Boy, that one's hot.
Perfect.
ain't it?
No, that's
Mike is
perfect.
hot.
And you guys make sure you're speaking right into those because we need the audience to hear you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is an honor for me because running around the rodeos, I remember always seeing Monty's picture everywhere. I didn't know Monty. I was just
Very true,
I
very
was,
true.
I was one of those lucky ones that got to do what I love for a living, though,
Yeah.
It wasn't very economically smart to be a rodeo cowboy when I cracked out, But, hey, I think why I did it.
Well, and we've got generational. And Ivan, you're from Canada.
It
Spit
started
that
being
one out.
called that, I think, in 1535, anyhow.
Right, and of course, both Ivan and Monty were, from back in the day when I was trick riding and going down the road with the outfit, and absolutely, bronc riding, one of my favorite events, and I still love a big, stout, feather-legged bronc. And both of you were classic to watch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and so were you. So were you in the trick riding and the Christensens all over Oregon and California. It was an honor, and it's an honor to be with you people today. You're very beautiful and talented, and Monty is tremendous, and so is Brent.
Well, thank you so much, Ivan. Monty, tell us a little bit how rodeo has changed a lot for you over the last few years. I mean, you went right on from, competing in the arena to acting career to musical career. Tell us a little bit about what Monty Hawkeye Henson has been doing.
Well, that's it. But I got to say, the comparison to rodeo, back when we did it now, in 1976, I won the NFR. I placed on 6 horses and won the average. I won $4,472 and 2 pennies. And I thought I was the richest white man north of the Red River. So being dumb helped a little bit on that amount. So that's a big change. I mean, a 6th in a go-round pays more than that now.
Right.
When
right.
Wade Sundale won the $1 million,
Yes.
I said, you won $150,000 more on 2 horses than I won in my career. And he just kind of looked at me, but that's what we worked for. That's what we wanted to have. We all think it was way late coming, but when you work for things like that and they come around, you're happy to see that. Even if you don't think the boys are, how do you put that? If they're receptive enough for it. You always think that. Jim Childers thought we weren't happy enough because of what we had. So every group, you kind of think, do these boys know what we went through? You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that, that's something that's so important to us with She's Gone Country, the CB Cowgirls, is exactly that. And that's what I wanted to ask you, is when you said that to Wade, did it register, the change and how fortunate that cowboys are today to have the money available to them that they do?
Yeah, if you didn't win first or second in the world in the old days, you didn't make no money, and that's just what it was.
Yes, yes.
Monty made lots of money, pardon me, Brent. He always made a lot. He did very well. And
Well, Ivan did also.
Oh, absolutely. And I think back then you'd qualify for the NFR $10,000, $11,000, $12,000, right?
Yeah, I think the first time I went, only took 9,500 Jim Kelts. And then, of course, I got bigger and bigger and bigger all along. But nowadays, everybody in the business that comes here makes a living doing it. I mean, it's pretty good living, too. So I'm glad to see that. Jack Kelly from Montana had 400 cows. He got in the rodeo business, and he went to the NFR every year for 6 years till he sold the last of the cows.
Wow.
And
So-
Monty, so many people look up to you. Your rodeo career was just stellar. and you keep promoting the Western lifestyle in such an amazing manner. You're out there singing. You're on the big screen. I mean, you are the American cowboy that so many look up to.
Well, I appreciate that a bunch, but I sure wish we could get some donations.
Brent, you were going to add something to what Monty was saying. What was that?
Well, I can't help it. You know, when I grew up and was just a little kid behind the bucking chutes with my father, of course, my hero was my dad and Monty and Larry Mahan and Sean Davis and Ivan Daines, and these are the guys that I looked up to, and I can't help it as an announcer to ask, you know, Ivan and Monty, give me your top 3 broncs you ever tangled with. Monty?
Well, with me, Descent, of course, I remembers him. And then there was one of Reg Kessler's that would scare the horns off of you called Rodeo News. He was probably the rankest horse I ever seen. And the best one ever got on, Good Times of Benny Butler's about 13 first. So you can't beat that.
Wow. That's
Ivan?
amazing.
Man, I got to agree with Monty Henson on 2, and Descent considered probably the best. He won 6 World Championships, the best ever, and even the great old-time gentlemen, the Christensens, wouldn't argue with me saying he was the greatest. And Rodeo News had everyone scared to death from the Canadian North. And I don't know, there's so many great ones, but a very good question. And I tell people this story about Monty Henson. The last year I qualified for the National Finals Rodeo, the last horse I drew was a little mare from Flying 5 out of Washington. Monty would remember her name, but she weighed about 800 pounds, and everyone, oh, Ivan, you'll tap her out, you can ride her. She's just a little horse. And Monty walked by getting ready, and he put his hat down like this, and he said, don't let him kid you about that little mare, Ivan. And I thought, oh, boy. Hardest 64 points I was at calf shoots and back, and no re-ride in those days. And I don't know how I rode her in 64 points, but I did get some average check money.
Well, you know, Ivan, your career has taken off as well once you quit competing in the rodeo arena. I know, you know, we watch you on the big screen a lot. You're a well-known musician in Canada and the United States. And we know that you have something very special that you'd like to do a few chords of, a new CD coming out. And this is all about America. It's about Las Vegas Strong, and it is about the heart of our country.
And I thank you very much. And it goes like this, and I hope you like it. The sun's hot in Las Vegas in the summertime. Jason Aldean at the Harvest Fest was singing so fine. Shots rang out, 20,000 fled their lives they tried to save. 59 died, hundreds more injured, heroes helped save the day. The difference between life and death is just a breath, we know. Blood and help was given through courage, millions donations flowed. America's worst mass shooting, stars and stripes, half-mast. The Eiffel Tower and New York City dimmed their lights with pride and class. Respect and prayers, Las Vegas, your courage and strength will last.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you very much.
That was
Beautiful.
fabulous.
I think that's a very, you know, it's a beautiful song, and I'm really glad that you wrote it because I was looking out from the Orleans, which is our host hotel, our sponsor, and I was looking over here at Mandalay Bay, and I couldn't help but think about what had happened you can't help but think about what happened a couple months ago.
Absolutely.
And
America is strong.
yes,
Las Vegas is strong.
and the one thing that I have to say is that I think we in the Western lifestyle and the Western world have a special touch that we can bring to Las Vegas. And I think that's, like I said, was our biggest hope, is that we sprinkle a little bit of the Western world when we leave here to the community.
I think Becky called it cowboy dust.
Cowboy
Right.
dust, yes.
And that just goes to show that our brothers and sisters from up above the 48th parallel, we really appreciate them.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Proud to do it. Very
You know,
proud to do it.
So I'll just transition real quick, and I want to ask
Absolutely.
Monty something. There's a video on YouTube that's gone viral, and it trends constantly, especially during the NFR and some of the big rodeos. But I think it was at the NFR in Oklahoma City, and you probably know the one I'm talking about. You're riding a bronc, and the next thing you know, you're in the buck and shoot.
Right here.
Right here in Vegas, the first or second year? Second year. Talk about
Nobody
that
remembers
experience.
anything else but me get thrown over in the chute.
Not the 3 world championships, not all the victories.
No.
You going into the bucket
That's
chute.
the only ride
Yeah.
anybody remembers. And people will come up and go, "You're not going to believe what I saw today." What's that? It was, I don't know where it was, but this horse bucked up to the chute. Like I didn't ever hear of it or see it. I love that part. But this horse was bucking, going right to the middle chute on right-hand delivery. The whistle blew right as I got to the chute. Well, my bronc obviously didn't see it. He swallows his head and he jerks the rein out of my hand. So I reached for the chute gate. Well, what I forgot was Babe Ruth hit me right here with when that cantle of the saddle hit me, and I went right over in there like a snake. So I was down the bottom. Of 30 seconds, they said, seemed like 3 weeks. And my dad wasn't here that day, and he called the next morning, and he said, "What the hell happened last night?" And so I explained to him. He said, "When you went to shoot, anything happened?" "Yeah, I got pawed in the butt." He said, "Well, you deserved that for being in there." So sympathy was really big with Dad that day. You know?
Just couldn't catch a break, Monty.
Oh, yeah.
Got the cowboy up motto.
So that's what people remember most about me is going over to bucket shoot.
All thanks to YouTube and the internet, right? Yeah. Of course, in the background, you can hear Tallman. He's knocked out cold, you know, of course.
Now, if you want to really watch the bronc ride on YouTube, 1967, Mel Holland at Cheyenne, Wyoming, on 5B6 or 5B8, Reckless Red was the horse's name. Ivan was probably even there when it happened.
I missed that year, but
I
I remember
you,
his name was Morrow River before he became Reckless Red, and he was out of South Dakota.
Yeah.
And I seen him bucket the match that year, and he's unreal in Fort Pierre.
And Mel was 86 points, and there never had even been an 80 at the time.
You know, and that was the question I was going to ask is a lot of today's spectators, they see a lot of different scoring than you gentlemen did when you were riding.
Right.
And what was the average high score for you guys when you were...
Go it start now. When I started out at 72, was going to win some. Maybe a 69 would place at a lot of rodeos.
Can I interject, Monty? And when I started, like 67 and 68 and maybe a 70 would win the bronc riding. So Cotton Rosser, the great man from Marysville, California, he just added 10 points to each judge. And so the 68 would be an 88. And everyone loved it. And really, because it couldn't get any better. So it was an 88 in everybody's mind and still is. But so they called Cotton Rosser in on the board and caught him on the mat that fall and said, "Don't be doing any more of that to the judges." And now it is 88 and into the 90s. But Cotton, you nice people know Cotton Rosser. And
Right. We love Cotton.
he's only 80.
He's
5
80
or 6 or
and-
something.
Oh, yeah.
And
I believe
tremendous.
it's 89.
Yes, and he'll be
Oh,
joining
wow.
us actually
There
with his
you go.
wife later this week.
Yes.
And-
Lots of rodeo history.
In Oklahoma City, when we left there and came here in 1984, I had the record for the most on 10 broncs, 758 points on 10. As soon as we came here, they raised it 2 points on each side on the animals.
Wow.
So the Oklahoma City record will always be, but it'll never stay an NFR record. And that's fine. That's just the way it is, you know.
Well, the years roll by, the sport grows. You know, today with this being opening day of the NFR, this morning I found a picture. You know, my dad picked up broncs at the very first NFR in Dallas, Texas in 1959. So special memory, you know, that.
And would have done a great job.
Oh,
He did a
thank
great
you,
job
thank
his
you.
whole life.
But in
Yeah.
honor of the NFR and the years that roll by and the Cowboys that paved the way, Monty Henson, Ivan Daines, you're each one of a
Legends.
kind.
Legends.
You're
I
heroes
appreciate
in
it.
so many of our books.
Thank you. In 1959, when your dad was picking up, my dad was a cop in Dallas. He takes
Wow.
me and my brother the last night of the rodeo, 59, 60, 61, to watch the rodeo. Was
saw
6,
you. I saw
7,
you.
and 8.
No.
Yeah, we saw each other. So me and you and about 125 people saw Jim Shoulders win his last title.
There you go.
Last
There
3
you go.
titles.
Yes. Wow.
Good.
Well, and I
Great.
have a question for you gentlemen. Tell us a little bit about why you make sure that you come back each year for the gathering at the Orleans that Larry puts on. Why is that so important? That
Come
you
back
make-
here every year?
Yes, for the gathering.
It's
Yeah,
precious.
for the World of Rodeo Gathering, yeah.
It's
Wow.
precious. And
you
the
don't get to
World
see
of
these
Rodeo
people.
Gathering. It's truly Brent said it all, a rodeo reunion. The people from all over the rodeo world converge on this great city, and it's emotional, it's wonderful. You meet your friends and your heroes and the odd enemy, but that we've gotten to be good friends. But it's really precious. This is a precious too. I know everybody who has a hat on here and a pair of boots, including these two gentlemen and you great ladies.
Well, I've had the best time being here with y'all today, and the reason I come back every year is a lot of people in the rodeo business. This is the only time I get to see them anymore.
Right.
So I go to the rodeo every night. I don't sit and watch it in the room or in the hotel because that's the people I was around for 30 years. So you try
Absolutely.
to see them. You know.
It's a homecoming.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is.
And the whole reason, the whole genesis of the World of Rodeo.
Becky, you're going to talk about some very special people that rodeo legends that we lost this past year, and how the reunion is honoring that part of rodeo and a part of our heart.
Yeah, this year was, it just seemed like right out the get-go at the beginning of the year. I know for me personally, I lost my Uncle Dale Smith, and he was intricate in the foundation of the PRCA. So he went home to heaven in January, and then not far behind that, it was just like, God got a trifecta, because it was Harry Vold and Winston Bruce and Hadley Barrett. So what kind of loss does that bring?
Well, for me personally, and I can speak to Hadley Barrett, of course, a fellow announcer, Hall of Fame announcer. There is a gentleman that was always so very, very gracious to young announcers coming up. Not standoffish, put his arm around you, let me show you how you do this. And I had the opportunity to co-announce the big match bronc riding there in Sentinel Butte in the Dakotas. And one of the greatest experiences of my life. Of course, you get all the top bronc riders in the world, announce with Hadley Barrett, and it just reinforced his place, in my mind, in the Hall of Fame, and his place as one of the great voices of pro rodeo. So it was a tremendous loss. And so, I'll let these guys speak to the other gentlemen, but I think I could really speak to that.
Well, and I know Ivan has a very special story. He shared it one year with us on Harry Vold and some of his horses, and you have some fond memories of Harry Vold.
Necklace.
He's a tremendous, to everyone, he was a hero and a kind man and a great bucking horseman, and he was 93, and I had a good visit with him 2 weeks before we lost him. And I said to his wife, can I visit with Harry? And she said, well, Ivan, he's out looking at the broncs and the bulls. Could you call back in about an hour? And he's 93 years old, and it's a cold day in Colorado. I said, of course, and we had the best visit. But, and he owned a great bucking mare called Necklace. She was so wonderful, and her progeny is still bucking great. There's certain horses that are truly great through the decades, and she's one of them, her colts.
Absolutely.
Well, I have just, when you said Dale Smith, after Dale had his stroke, I knew him for 20 years after that, and he would come to our house probably 5 times a day, and we'd be out roping. He would be sitting there in the arena. He would be yelling at me, even though he couldn't speak. He would be like, no, I'm, telling you.
He knew how to get a few cuss words out, even though he couldn't talk.
And he was like, he had Blackjack brought to the house, and that was a powerful horse to rope on. But he still, even though he couldn't speak, it was in his blood. Yes. He loved every moment of it. If we were branding cattle, whatever we were doing, he was sitting right there in his truck, hollering at people the way he kind of could, but in his blood, and loved every moment of it.
He was a president of Pro Rodeo, and he used to say at the end of the meetings, we hang together or we hang separately. He'd always say that, and Dale Smith was so great. And Winston Bruce, we haven't talked about that great man, and great Americans come up for his memorial service. Sean Davis, Larry Jordan, everybody come up, and he was something else. He was a hero to everybody through the ages.
Absolutely.
Yeah, world champion cowboy.
And a world champion.
Finest gentleman that ever stepped on a bronc.
Yes, and Vicki, I know you have some tender moments of Winston that you cherish.
Oh, yes, oh gosh, and I was so blessed that I still had these stories wrote down in my email. But Winston would sometimes very late at night start writing, and he loved to write. And I found all these stories, back from when he was rodeoing here, in the States, and stories of Christensen brothers bucking horses and Miss Klamath, war paint. So, yes, a very special connection, and was so happy to call him a dear friend.
Tremendous.
Well, and I remember when I found out Winston passed away. I was sitting on my couch, and I just started bawling, and it was just like, why am I crying so incessantly? I mean, I've met Winston, and we shared some time in Ellensburg and some conversation, but I was just crying, and I just thought, this generation is passing, and when they're gone, and it's so important to share their stories.
My favorite Winston Bruce story was the 1960 NFR. He's riding broncs. Jack Bushbaum was judging, and I don't know who on the other side. Well, Winston was 4 points less on Jack's side. So after the rodeo, he walked over and said, "Excuse me, Jack, I'm 4 points less on your side. Why?" And he said, "Well, I guess I had your bad side." And Winston, I'm about to crack up. Winston said, "Jack, I don't have a bad side."
Yeah,
That's
true.
The calmest, most gentlemanly way, and he wasn't lying.
No, that's true.
And ladies, when we honored Winston on his memorial, the First Nations in Montana, which I didn't know, made him a member of the tribe,
Wow.
the Crow Agency,
Wow.
and the Ken Reelbird and all his relatives and everybody were up there, and they started the service like a
Wow.
First Nation service. Like, it was emotional up there too. Tremendous,
Well, and
What an
their
honor.
ceremonies are amazing
Yeah.
when they're honoring people that are so important to the tribe and so forth. But now, Brent, I have a question, because we have two more guests that we're gonna be transitioning here in the next 5 minutes. But Brent, share with our listeners and our audience and our viewers the World of Rodeo reunion. Is that open to the public, or just Gold Card members, or can people around Vegas, if they hear about it and want to come hear the stories, can they come?
It's right in the title, Open to the World, World of Rodeo. If you're a rodeo fan and you want the opportunity to come and shake hands and meet one of the legendary cowboys or cowgirls, this is the event to come to. And I'm going to have to tell you, if you come to it, what you'll realize is the people in the world of rodeo are also very gracious. Don't be afraid to go up and shake your hand and meet one of your heroes, because they'll be thrilled to talk to you. They'll sign an autograph, take a selfie now, which is the new autograph. And you walk away with a new perspective on the world of rodeo, because these are the forefathers, the mothers that came out and laid the foundation for the modern world of rodeo.
Yes.
And this is an opportunity to meet them. And that's tomorrow at the Orleans, 11 to 1.
Orleans.
Yes.
We will be there tomorrow at the
Yes,
Orleans.
we will. And we were hoping he would make it here, but he's not going to be until this evening. But one of the gentlemen that I have had the pleasure of really getting to know in the last year, because of my husband, Gray, is Mr. Deb Copenhaver. And he is 92 years young.
Deb is 92.
And he is as spry as they come. And I've been so honored to get to sit down and listen to his stories and record his stories. And we show up, and Maria and I were on our way to a Queen clinic, and we walked in there, and he sang with us and danced with us. And I mean, you just wouldn't think anything that he was 92.
Well, I'll tell you something about Deb, too. He's a great guy. But when he won a world championship in 55, see, on these world buckles, that's Casey Tibbs on gold dollar. He said, "You ain't putting that son of a bitch on my buckle." So his has got Miss Klamath with Deb Copenhaver on it.
Wow.
There you go, Monty.
You'll have to bring that one up too.
never
I'm
told
like
me
David
that.
Letterman. I'm like David Letterman. Or Johnny Carson. I did not know that.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so very, very
you.
much for being here. We appreciate it. All of you that can stop by the Orleans Hotel and, walk in and take part in the reunion, please come by and say hello and see the legends of rodeo who paved the way for what we know rodeo as it is today.
Come
Our
meet these
heroes.
girls, too. They all smell like girls, too. Not like a cow lot,
Well, we appreciate you joining us, and your stories are treasured, and there's
Yes.
so many more that we know you have to tell. But thank you for taking
Thank
some
you.
time with
We're
us.
honored. We're honored to be here. Very honored.
We
Thank
could
you.
be asking these guys questions for hours. I mean, I still want to know about the movie work and his singing and
We're going to have to bring them
Well,
back.
yeah,
absolutely.
actually, really,
I'll have to come back.
real
Yes.
quick question: is there anywhere? Do you guys have your own personal Facebooks or websites? Or,
I don't know nothing about that stuff.
well,
I
we
got a
gotta
flip
ask
phone.
because we are in the
My phone's a flip phone, okay?
You'll be like Bob Tallman, book face.
Yes,
That's what
book face.
Bob calls it, book face.
It's out
Anyway,
there.
number to call is
Somebody got it.
you ain't
Somebody's got
one
it,
too.
but, and the movie The Revenant, they put all us hillbilly cowboys. The only one we didn't have was Monty and Brent on it, but we had a bunch of great cowboys. And it
and
was fun.
that won a few awards, I believe.
It did, but it was a big
lot.
honor being on it, and good horses and good horsemanship is everybody had a grand time up there, and it was Hollywood, but it was cowboys too. But
Absolutely.
we're honored to be on it, and it's on Facebook and all that. I'm like Monty. I take Monty's fifth oath.
But now your album is coming out. Real quick, tell us how we can find that.
It's on its way here, and hopefully it'll get here. And it's called Songs of My Life. It's all songs I've written through my life, and one's about the great Donnie Gay and Red Steagall and guys Tanya Tucker and everything like that. But it'll be around here hopefully, and
Okay.
I'm
I was
very
gonna say,
honored.
definitely come to the WNFR and you'll be able to find you and
That's
definitely
great.
get a copy of it.
That's great, and I
Perfect.
thank you. And interviews with cowboys too on a new CD. So I'm very honored to be here. We all say that, but we mean it. And a great, God bless Las Vegas and rodeo and all you ladies and men. In a cowboy way, I love you all.
Oh, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. We just said goodbye to Monty Hawkeye Henson and Ivan Daines, two of the great rodeo cowboys that are going to be at our World of Rodeo Gathering. And as Brent pointed out earlier, Brent Jordan on stage with us, it is open to the world. And Brent, you brought a couple more guests with you today. Can you introduce them, please?
I sure did. I'd like to welcome up on the stage. He is one of the great barrelmen, rodeo entertainers in the business. He's from Canada. He's worked the Canadian finals, the NFR, and all the major rodeos across the country. Dennis Holstead.
Welcome, Dennis.
Then I'd like to bring up another good friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years, and now he's going around the country, and he's carrying on the great tradition of Whiplash, the cowboy monkey. Kenny Petet from Stevensville, Texas.
Well, welcome.
We're just going to move this microphone.
So nice to have both of you. And again, more ties to the world of rodeo.
Yes,
And
yes.
So much going on.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I in a selfish manner, in a selfish way, I wanted to bring these guys up here because I got to take care of my contract personnel people.
Absolutely.
You know, for my job as an announcer, a barrel man, specialty act, how to give them some exposure. And
Absolutely.
they're so talented, and they're a wealth of knowledge because they've worked all the major rodeos across Canada and the United States. Some good stories here, so we're going to get to know them.
I'm allergic to work. That's how I got in it.
Now, we're not believing that for not 1 minute.
Okay, small part.
Well, now,
He's allergic to work, but he's addicted to golf.
Okay.
well,
then, but
for some of us, golf can be work. Like, I know for me, it's not
I was
fun,
just
it's
going to
work.
say, it's not fun. It's work for me.
Yeah, I agree.
If
You know
anyone
what,
says
Jeen,
it's
you know what,
relaxing, I'm thinking they're full of it.
Tom Sawyer said that golf is a nice walk ruined. That's what
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Kenny, tell us a little bit, if you would, Kenny, a little bit about your background. Where do you call Texas? You're from Texas, Stephenville. And are you a native Texan, or tell us a little bit about your
it is.
background?
No, ma'am, I'm actually a little closer to him. I'm from Idaho.
All right.
Yeah, way north Idaho. My dad's backcountry pilot up there. That's where I grew up. And you can throw a rock from my where I grew up and hit Canada. So I guess we're just Southern Canadians, I guess.
We're at in Idaho.
Yeah, in Orofino. It's way
Oh,
north in the Panhandle.
Spokane.
Oh, really?
Montana,
Yeah. My dad owns Orofino Aviation, so.
There we go.
But the deal is I met a girl, and she was hotter than donut grease, and she lives in Texas, and if I have to live with her, I got to live there. So
And there you have the rest of the
explains
story.
the whole
we have a
story.
ranch there, and everything's
Okay.
good. So
Those dang women, huh? Sheesh.
yeah, that's it.
I come from an arranged marriage in Canada.
But you
It's a
said you
Canadian
listen
thing.
well.
Yeah, it's a Canadian thing.
Well, both of you are in the entertainment business. And, besides, a lot of other things you do, but you're also an author. You've authored a book?
Yeah,
Tell
I
us,
wrote
tell
a lot
us
of stuff.
about
But yeah, I have
Whiplash.
I have a book. We actually have a number of books, but Whiplash, the Cowboy Monkey Saves the Day is a children's book. And I continue to write things and continue to write other books. And that's, everybody wants a hero. That's a lot of what's missing nowadays in our lives is heroes. And everybody wants a cowboy hero. There was John Wayne. There was, all the cowboy heroes for all them years. And so we have one here. Whiplash, he is a hero. He saves the day every time.
And everybody just runs every time Whiplash is around because they want to see him. They want to get their picture with him. They want to see your performance in the arena.
Yeah. A funny thing, just rodeos a lot of what we do, but we do a lot of other private parties, that sort of thing. We do a lot of, believe it or not, races, IndyCar, NASCAR, that sort of thing.
Oh, really?
And last year we were at Austin, Texas at what they call the F1 race. Now, F1 is like IndyCar on steroids. It's foreign. It's very, very expensive. I'll just tell you this. At the beer tent, the beers were $19 a piece. That's just,
Wow.
But that's the kind of people that do that deal. Well, they had asked us to do a couple of perfs a day. They had built us an arena, like this out of what they call bike racks. And so we did the first one, and it's what they call a road course. It's not a circle. It's a whole road course. And there's jumbotrons set up all through the deal. And we did the first event, or the first performance. As I was headed back to the trailer, I get a call from the promoter. And she says, hey, she said, I need to ask you. She said, and if you've ever been to one of those races, they don't just have one race. They have races all day. There'll be, especially at those high-dollar ones, there'll be a Ferrari race. There'll be a Cadillac race. There'll be they have qualifying. They have stuff all day. Well, she called me. She says, hey, she said, can we move you about 30 minutes later for your next deal? And I'm like, yeah, it's your money. We'll do whatever you want. I said, was there a problem? She said, well, the problem we had is we put you during the Mazda race, and she said, we had you on the Jumbotron, and so many people, they were leaving the stands to go see if they could see him where he was. She said it happened so much that, because it was on NBC, she said the commentators on NBC are like, is there a fire? Where's everybody going? So we had to move it to where there wasn't a race.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Maybe, Kenny, you can speak to a little bit of the history and heritage of Whiplash, the Cowboy Monkey. Tommy Joe Lucia had him for years and years, and there's a great heritage there. Maybe speak to that.
Literally, like when I was a kid, that was my hero.
Right. Well, here's the deal. Whiplash, what is he now, 23? And he's been doing it since he was 2. For the last 20 years, that's who you've seen. There's one John Wayne, there's one Roy Rogers, there's one Whiplash. Now, he'll live to be about 45.
Wow, really?
So, the vet seems to think he has 15 or 20 years left in him.
Wow.
And I don't have that left in me. So.
I was wondering about that.
So that's him, and he loves what he does. Now then, like I said, Tommy Joe Lucia started this act years ago. Now, there were monkeys on dogs since the 20s, in circuses and that sort of thing, and he kind of mainstreamed it into rodeo. There was guys that had other deals that weren't as maybe weren't as big as Whip.
Right.
Now, and here's the deal. Our announcer of the year this year, that they just announced last night, Bob Tallman, he named Whiplash. Believe it or not. See, Whiplash's real name is Pistol Pete. If that's what's on his papers, that's where he started. It was Pistol Pete in the arena, whatever. One day, old Tallman, they're doing the act, and Bob Tallman says, oh, my God, look at that. That monkey's going so fast, he's going to get Whiplash. and that's...
Now, that's the story behind the story.
Yeah, that's the story behind the story. And now, of course, Whiplash, the Cowboy Monkey's trademarked, and we own all that. But, that's who he is. So I have pictures with him. I've got pictures with him hugging Bob Tallman. So he's been fun. It's been a lot of... And like I said, Tommy Joe, which is his son, him and I do a lot of business together on some other things. And one day Tommy Joe said, he calls me and said, hey, he said, I've had other acts. Chuck wagon races and stuff. I brought him the NFR, that sort of thing. And Tommy Joe called me and said, hey, he said, his health's not good. He said, do you want to take over that Whiplash act? And I'm like, no. I don't need a monkey. What am I going to do with a monkey? He's like, no, I think you can do it. No. And it took him about a year to finally kind of talk me into it. And then, of course, we finally took, and then of course Tommy's gone now. You know,
Right.
he's
Right.
gone now. But anyway, we took it over, and we've had a lot of success. Circuit finals.
Right.
We've been to the NFR a couple of years ago, so
Well,
we've had a
Whiplash-
lot of success with him. So.
Whiplash is legendary, that is for
Absolutely.
sure. And you know,
Yes.
it's so funny because you have Whiplash, who's our furry little friend out there in the arena, and then we have the barrelmen that are out there in the
Here,
arena.
other furry little
How
friends.
about that for a
Well,
transition?
Canada. I got to be honest, I didn't write a book. Hooked on Phonics didn't work for me, so there's no book.
Well, you know,
segue.
we're almost to the end of the hour, and I just think it's so important that the contract, as like Brent said, they're so important to the entertainment of the show and to keep the show and the rodeo moving along. So you have had a plethora. I mean, you've been to the NFR several times. You were an alternate last year. You're on the top 5 this year. How much do you love being a barrelman?
You know what? I'll be 100% honest. I am living a dream. I tell people I don't have to take a vacation. 11 months of the year, I live a vacation every weekend, and I truly do. I honestly believe I live a dream. There's nothing better in today's society with the pressures of everybody's, lifestyles. I can sit there and people can watch me for 2.5 hours and laugh and forget about everything else they do. So, like I said, I live a dream to be able to do what I do, and now I get to travel all over the world. So it's very cool.
Dreams do come true, don't they?
Oh, girl, that's what I tell every kid. Chase your dream, because I never in a million years, when I got the call last year about the top 5 for the NFR and stuff, and then being the alternate, I mean, it was a dream. So
Wow.
chase your dream.
I have to tell you that the first time I met Dennis I was co-announcing the Badlands Circuit Finals with Bob Tallman. So between Dennis and Bob, I think I said 4 words. And they had me laughing the whole time. So it was a
He's
pleasure,
got an
let me
act.
tell you.
Him and I worked Heber City, Utah together last year. And he's got an act where he jumps through a hoop of flame with no shirt on in a bathtub.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
a Canadian thing, girls.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness. See, so we're going to have...
It's
Drinking
the
is
funniest
legal.
thing he ever said. So the next day, I'm down there, and there's some lady I was at the convenience store or something, and I had a rodeo something on. And the lady asked me, she said, man, that rodeo was great last night. I said, what was the best part? Thinking it would be Whiplash. She said, it was that naked guy in the bathtub. That was the best thing I ever seen.
And you guys, this is it. That is all we have for She's Gone Country with the CB Cowgirls. We will be back tomorrow at noon, so stay tuned. We have a great week ahead of us.
We
Thank
do.
you, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.